They told you it was over. They said the era of the eagle was over. They told you that the dawn of the Chinese dragon was here. They showed you the footage, the red carpets in Beijing, the Chinese people bowing deeply in acknowledgement of each other. They showed you the long tables where the Chinese ministers sat and planned and plotted how they would overcome America and move into the premier position as the world leader. They said that America was on the way out and China was on the way up. The president was finally, quietly going to take a seat to the new masters of the world, China. The pundits, the hate-ass news reporters, they called it a surrender tour. They said that Trump was traveling the world to bend the knee to every other major power on the planet. They whispered that the art of the deal was dead and that Trump had finally met his match, and that match was met at the Great Wall of China. It looked like submission. It looked like Trump was bowing or bending the knee to a superior force that, unlike America, that recently only celebrated just a measly 250 years on this planet, China, a dynasty that survived thousands of years, dealing with hundreds of different governments and empires, was finally moving to the fore. While the world was busy mourning America's prestige, there was actually a different conversation that was happening behind the heavy doors of the Chinese State House. The president of China, Xi Jinping, who's been ruling since what? I want to say almost since 2013. Guy's almost been in office for 20 years. He looked across the table. He saw the only thing a superpower such as China respects: unapologetic power. Then he did something that no one expected. He did something that left the globalist absolutely stunned. The Chinese president didn't ask for a single concession of the United States. He didn't ask President Trump to end the war in Iran. He didn't ask for President Trump to stop the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. As a matter of fact, he shocked the world when he offered cooperation. Xi looked at the chaos in the Middle East. He looked at the Iranian terrorist regime for what it was. He looked at their attempts to destabilize the flow of oil across the world, and he made a choice. He literally told Trump, "We will help you handle Iran." And it was in that moment that you could hear the breaking hearts of all of the doomers, all of the China ass kissers that happen to have American citizenship. We need to deport every last one of them and send them to the country that they love so much. You heard their hearts breaking because they realized that in that moment, Trump's way of doing things truly, inarguably surpassed the way they thought was best to do things. But why did Xi choose to cooperate with America? Is it because all of a sudden he loves America and Trump is his best friend? No, it wasn't because of friendship at all. It wasn't even because of shared values. It's because China understands something that our own leaders and citizens have totally forgotten. China puts the interest of prosperity over the dead weight of alliances with America's enemies. They're going to let some rogue state like Iran burn down the global marketplace just for the sake of an old ideological grudge. They're not going to lose a single penny because some group of terrorists over in their shithole wants to obtain a nuclear weapon so that they can hold the world hostage and do nothing. China understands something about Islam that America and other countries just don't seem to get. Muslims don't build shit. Anybody who went to a predominantly Muslim country, the only one that builds is Dubai, the UAE. And they only built one or two cities. But overwhelmingly, go to Egypt, go to Libya, go to like Lebanon, go to any Muslim country. What are they doing? They are sucking sand like a bunch of suckers, hating the world, screaming Allahu Akbar, lying, saying that Islam is a religion of peace just to get you to let your guard down so they can reduce the world to exactly what they're living in: squalor and dust. If Islam is the way and Muslims are superior to everyone, why are so many Muslims leaving the Middle East and trying to go into African cities like Nairobi and Lagos, where Africans have built civilization and are moving into the fore when it comes to economics on the planet? If they have a superior understanding of everything, both physical and spiritual, why can't you highlight a single thing that they've built or invented since algebra? And even algebra, in many instances, isn't even applicable knowledge. I'll wait for you. I'll wait for you to explain that. But China understands this. China is going to bet on the home team. China's going to bet on the winner. They're not going to bet for the Lakers with LeBron. They're going to bet on the Oklahoma City Thunder. Why? Because the Oklahoma City Thunder won it last year and ain't a doggone thing changed, not even the names on the back of the jersey. Why is it so hard for the politicians and the people of the United States of America to understand that? Why are we slaves to this ideological idea of like moral obligation? Oh, we have to feel sorry and like destroy ourselves and undermine our own interests so some poor country, some corrupt little dust pile across the world can feel empowered and emboldened. Let China teach you something. I mean, they can't invent anything, but they still are capable of teaching lessons, right? Let them teach you something. Let this be a lesson for every single American who's still blinded by this misguided sense of moral obligation to people who, let's be real, they hate us. We've spent decades bleeding our treasury dry for these so-called allies who won't even stand up to their obligations that don't even pay any dividends. Beijing basically pivoted on every country that thought that China was going to stand in the gap as like a failsafe to their constant war of words with America. Like, let's be real, Iran, they really thought China was going to step in and go to war with America on their behalf. They really thought Russia was going to step in the gap and go to war with America on their behalf. Let me tell you something. China abandoned Iran damn near instantly. Xi Jinping confirmed that he's going to take America's side over Iran, right? We're their number one trade partner. Why would you mess up your homie? Why would you break your ties with your number one trade partner to do business with a corrupt country that constantly destroys their economy just so that they can continue to sponsor terrorism? The same thing with Russia. Putin just announced that he's ready for peace talks with Ukraine because the war is such a drain on Russian resources, it's no longer worth it. Putin's like, yo, I'm ready to play nice. The Beijing pivot, as it's being called now, wasn't just a submission. It was a masterclass on something that we've lost in America: common damn sense. It proves that when you lead with strength, the way Trump is doing, and you prioritize your own house, even your greatest rival will line up to protect your interests, because your interest, simply put, is where the money is. Xi didn't bend the knee to Trump. The world just finally realized which way the axis should turn. As my granny used to say, they just realized which side their bread was buttered on. You either come over here and keep making money and prosper, or you go and ally with a terrorist regime in a dustbin out of some type of moral obligation. And China is smart. They're not dumb. They know what to do. And they said, look, align with Tehran, get absolutely nothing. Align with America and continue to grow our economy. Align with America, continue to grow our middle class. Align with America and continue to be one of the premier countries in the world, leading in so many categories, so many other than innovation or anything useful, but leading in basically enslaving our people in labor warehouses for the sake of building crap that American people barely even want to buy, but we buy it because it's cheap. I'm just being real with you tonight. So I just, my question is, where are all these people who are kissing the ass of China and highlighting China as some type of like counterbalance to America? Where are all these people that were like, oh, America doesn't want to mess with China because China and BRICS. BRICS. Remember when they were hollering about BRICS and BRICS they were gonna show America and they were gonna become the new premier market in the world, and the American hegemony over the global financial system was coming to an end because Brazil and Iran and China were gonna come together and do something. I've been saying this since I was young, since 10 years ago. Man, all these countries are just corrupt little countries who would rather steal and pilfer their country's funds than actually use those funds to build prosperity and help move their people up the economic ladder. But for some reason, the quote-unquote socialist in our country, we're like celebrating these people. I tell everyone, China is not really even a socialist country. And when you ask them, give me an example of when socialism actually worked, first country they bring up is China. Dude, over 96% of the businesses in China are privately owned. The government has no control over them. How is that socialism? Where in a socialist economy, the government literally owns the means of production and they own every business in the country, even if it is operated by a citizen. Even if it is started by a citizen, the government would still own that business. And the government would take that business's profit, and the profits would then be redistributed back to the businesses for operation and to the people based on what they think each person needs. How is China communist or socialist when 96% of their businesses are privately owned and they continuously do business with capitalist countries? As a matter of fact, China's survival is based on whether or not they continue to do business with capitalist countries. If every capitalist country pulled out of China, China would collapse the first day. Their country would be in famine the same day or within 30 days. So all these people who bet against capitalism, all these people who are using China as their one last holdout in this fantasy where they believe that America somehow is like not a good place to live, and it's not the premier country on the planet, well, your hopes just were dashed by Xi Jinping himself. He's not stupid. That's why he's been president almost 20 years, because he just errs on the side of what makes money. And if you were smart, if you had intelligence, you would do the same. Learn from the world leaders. That's what China truly has to offer you. A daily dose of common sense. Versus whatever Kool-Aid you're drinking, where you believe that somehow if the government gives everything free, you're still going to be able to have prosperity, not famine, like every other country who has tried socialism. Let's go into this clip. We're going to go into a clip from my boy Jesse Waters about what happened on Trump's first day in China, and a lot of you might be surprised to how to the welcome that the Chinese government and the Chinese people gave Trump. Chinese people ain't a bunch of haters.
Fox News alert, it is all pomp and pageantry in Beijing. The Chinese just rolled out the red carpet, welcoming President Donald J. Trump and his delegation to the Capitol. The weather in Beijing was a hot 87 degrees when Air Force One touched down. Good thing Miller brought his Bermuda shorts. POTUS and his team were greeted on the tarmac with flowers, a military band, and hundreds of little Chinese children smiling and waving American flags. It's the first time a U.S. president's visited China in almost 10 years. The last time, Trump. Before that, it was Obama, and Barry didn't get the full Beijing welcome. The Chinese didn't even put up a staircase. Barack had to take the tiny stairs like Biden and come out the back door, and didn't even get a red carpet. The reception, let's call it frosty. One Chinese official even got into a scuffle with an Obama staffer on the tarmac and told them, "This is our country, this is our airport." Things are a little different this time. The Chinese people were delighted to welcome Air Force One. Here they are snapping pictures at the spectacle because Trump is kind of a celebrity in China. Rubio, not so much. He was banned from the country. Trump had to order Xi to let him in. So China changed his name so he could bypass sanctions. So for the next 48 hours, Rubio's name's Lou, Marco Lou. Trump also brought Hegseth, his top trade rep, Miller, obviously, and his son Eric, all on board. Vance, feeling a little left out.
So as you know, the president just landed in China a few hours ago. I always, you may know that because of Secret Service protocols that I don't travel outside of the country with the President of the United States. So on days today, I sometimes feel like Macaulay Culkin in Home Alone. I walk into the White House and it's very quiet and no one's there, and it takes me a second to realize exactly what's going on.
Man, look, isn't it so good to be able to have real people in the White House running the country? Isn't it great to have people running the country who can actually think on their feet quick enough to tell a damn joke? Biden was, he'd stand up there. Look, I'm not going to, I'm not lying if you paid attention to the Biden presidency. Was I the only one who was scared every time Biden spoke? Am I the only one who was terrified thinking, this guy's going to freaking pass out on stage and die? I know I couldn't have been the only one thinking that. Isn't it so good to have young, vibrant men who can crack a joke, who are real people, who have families, and they have dreams and aspirations, and they're likable people like you running the country? It's just so damn refreshing. A vice president that can get on the stage, on the podium, when the president is away and crack a joke and let people know, hey, even though the president's gone, if something bad happens, we're good. Not Kamala Harris just hiding away in the vice president's mansion, doing everything possible to not have to show her face to America. It just feels good. It really, man, it allows you to just breathe a sigh of relief. Damn. Whew. Finally, competent people. And yet the uninitiated plebes, the turds of our society, no, we want more DEI. We want more people who you wouldn't even trust to be a manager of a Burger King in the White House. We want more transgender luggage thieves in the White House. It is just so good to be looking at normal people who are well qualified, sitting in that White House that we pay for, running this country that we love so much.
The last time a VP flew to Beijing, he came back with $1 billion for his son. Those days are over. Air Force One also flew over some CEOs. Elon Musk hitched a ride. So did the CEO of NVIDIA, the chip guy. He accidentally got left off the list, so we picked him up in Alaska during the refuel. The other CEOs from Boeing, Apple, Visa, they flew solo. I think Boeing has their own plane. But the CEOs are worth nearly $1 trillion. So the president expects there's going to be a lot of money made on this trip. More on that in a bit.
Man, listen, bro. Trump is giving a master class on how to run a country. Bro is like, I'm not traveling alone. I'm bringing the billionaire rat pack with me. They think they got money. I'm showing them the money we got because we have more money than they do. We're showing the little money what the big money look like, and we stomping through this bitch like we own it, and you can't keep nobody out. They didn't want Marco Rubio to go over there, but he over there, though. And that's what you have to understand. The global community is about competition. It ain't about letting the other team score freebie baskets just so they can feel like they have value. You dig in, you whoop their ass until they cry uncle. It's if you can't beat them, join them. versus let them beat us so they can feel good about themselves. These liberals want to turn the global competition into the damn Special Olympics. But this is that ain't what it is. And Trump is helping you understand that. And Xi is helping you understand that. I wish my community, the black community, would take a lesson out of China's playbook. You ain't gonna beat them, so just join them. Become prosperous and put yourself in a position to where if one day they do decide to do something to you, you have the money to fight back. China can fight back against America. They won't win, but they can fight back. They could wage a better opposition than Iran. But how did China get into that position? By cooperating with the United States. Do you ever realize that the people who are catching up to the United States the fastest are the countries that actually cooperate with the United States? That's the way you do it. It's like boxing. The future champions are usually the guys who are sparring partners for the current champion, right? Wasn't what's old buddy name? Old ass. He beat Ali. I'm blanking. What's his name, guys? Come on. He had the good jab. Hold on, I gotta get this, or I'm gonna lose sleep over it. What talk on it. He gonna come up right here. Oh, right here. Larry Holmes. I believe Larry Holmes was Ali's sparring partner for a while. Yeah, Larry Holmes was Muhammad Ali's primary sparring partner from 1971 to 1975. Later on, he came up and beat Ali, right? That's how it works. Usually, the person who come up and beat you is somebody who was riding your camp later on. That's how China's doing. A very smart strategy. If we just work with America and help them prosper, we either going to overtake them or we'll be second in line in prosperity. And if you look at the world, where's China? Second in line in prosperity to the United States of America. At this point, they're probably second in line when it comes to military might as well. And if America falls, China will step into America's place. That's the way to do it. Any boxing aficionado knows 9 times out of 10, the person who dethrones the champ comes from within the champ's own camp at one point or another. Let's keep going.
But first, dinner. The menu on Air Force One, a little taste of China.
Ooh.
Beef stir fry with a little bok choy and lo mein fried in a sesame and soy sauce. Came with 2 spring rolls. And for dessert, fortune cookies. Crack one open, you get this message. Welcome aboard Air Force One. The president's hoping for some good fortune this year for us and the Chinese. After dinner, Rubio talks shop with Hannity.
You view China as our top geopolitical foe.
Yeah, it's both our top political challenge geopolitically, and it's also the most important relationship for us to manage. I mean, it's a big, powerful country. It's going to continue to grow, but we're going to have interests of ours that are going to be in conflict with interests of theirs. And to avoid wars and maintain peace and stability in the world, we're going to have to manage those. There are clearly areas where they're so important for the United States that we're going to have to raise those issues, and we'll continue to do so. The president's going to continue to do so. There might be some areas of cooperation, too, and we want to make sure we don't walk away from those.
The president's heading into the summit with a wind at his...
Listen, there's hostilities. There's certain issues that the United States government and the Chinese government don't see eye to eye on. Let me clear up some misinformation. Trump and his delegation were required to leave their personal cell phones and electronic devices behind on U.S. soil prior to their arrival to Beijing. This is a lie. Some of it, the delegation, some of the people who were there just as guests of Trump, like, come on, you coming with me, they had to leave their personal cell phones. Donald Trump was never required to leave his personal cell phone. They could never do that. America would never do that. And also the Secret Service agents were also allowed to bring their personal cell phones. Non-essential personnel were required to leave their cell phones. But Olarisha, my thing is like this: grow up. Why do we always got to poke a hole into our own country? You live here. Why are you trying to poke holes in shit? Like, it doesn't matter. You're wrong, one. But then two, what does it benefit you? How does tearing down your own president? Didn't I just say you should learn a lesson from China? China doesn't do things to tear down their own country, even if that means they have to play nice with another country who they could absolutely hate. As a black person, learn to do the same thing. It's called conflict resolution skills. It's called rooting for the home team. And it's called ensuring your own prosperity. You're not getting paid $1 to tear down the president of the United States. I can understand the blue-haired liberals. They get paid through ad revenue. What do you gain by tearing down your own president, trying to make him look weak in the face of the global community? You don't gain anything. I don't know what itch it scratches for you, but that's silly to do that.
Back. Since their last meeting, he's painted China into a corner. The U.S. military has been wargaming off their coast with our Pacific allies and striking defense deals with key players to secure choke points. Last week, we shot a Tomahawk right into the South China Sea. And on the day today, Trump touched down, Taiwan's conducting defense exercises, testing out their tanks and javelins. We just sold Taiwan $11 billion in weapons. And there's another $25 billion package waiting for Trump to sign when he gets back from Beijing. The United States is making a lot of money in Asia. We just signed a huge energy deal with the Japanese. All week, Besant's been in Tokyo.
We discussed a broad range of issues.
Wait, I want to rewind that for the people in the back. Yeah, this is so crazy to me. You could talk as much shit as you want. Bro, we're literally selling China weapons right now.
Week, we shot a Tomahawk right into the South China Sea. And on the day today, Trump touched down, Taiwan's conducting defense exercises, testing out their tanks and javelins. We just sold Taiwan $11 billion in weapons.
Yeah. Oh, they had to leave. Brandon, they had to leave their cell phones. Yep. And guess what? We just sold $11 billion worth of weapons to the country right across the water. Maybe 200 miles, I think, away from the coast of China, right? Who China wants to invade. So we didn't just sold your enemy $11 billion worth of weapons. We shot a Tomahawk into the South China Sea. Little do you know, but because I got people on the inside, we have submarines at the bottom of the South China Sea that they can't even detect. But they had to leave their cell phones, though. It's not a win. It's looking like some sad, desperate attempt to try to make America look weak. We run in China, and China knows that. Strategically, we have China surrounded. If they act up, you think America's going to fight a war with China? Have you ever heard of a blockade like what we're doing to Iran? We blockade China 30 days with no imports or exports. China is in a catastrophic famine because they have billions of people. Millions of those people are elderly, and they import damn near everything that they consume. We have a strategy for China, and China understands that. So they play tough on the international stage, but they understand, okay, the king is coming, time to bend the knee and play nice.
And there's another $25 billion package waiting for Trump to sign when he gets back from Beijing.
$36 billion in weapons to Taiwan.
Asia. We just signed a huge energy deal with the Japanese. All week, Besant's been in Tokyo.
We discussed a broad range of issues. We discussed the very strong U.S.-Japan bilateral relationship. We discussed the U.S.-Japan investment program. We discussed critical minerals. We discussed President Trump's visit to Beijing.
Today, Besant nailed down part of our trade deal with South Korea. We created an AI tech colony in the Philippines, and we're striking mineral deals all over the world, from Greenland to Ukraine to the Congo, to wean off Chinese supply chains. And at any moment tonight, the president will be meeting with Xi and hand him a Sharpie.
President Trump still hasn't seen President Xi yet. That is going to happen a few hours from right now during an official state welcome ceremony for President Trump at the Great Hall of the People. We expect that to look basically like China's version of what the U.S. did for King Charles a few weeks ago back on the White House South Lawn. When the two of them, though, get behind closed doors, we know exactly what President Trump is going to make his first ask, and it has to do with all these American CEOs who rode on Air Force One with him into Beijing.
The Democrats opened up America to China and got nothing back. So Trump's going to force China to open up to us. If everything now is made in China, they better start buying American. They'll be buying Boeing planes with GE engines. American tech companies will get the Chinese hooked on our chips, not the good ones. Elon wants to sell them cars. Apple wants to sell them phones. And the president wants him to keep placing big, beautiful orders with American farmers.
Listen, man, you do what is necessary to keep them dependent on you. Instead of, like, it's like back when I was young, you know, people told me, man, you need to listen to these old heads, bro. They gonna give you the game that's gonna prevent you from having to experience the hardship that comes with learning from experience, right? And so I listened to them. And a lot of the bullshit I was able to avoid because I just remember what the old heads taught me. Look, Trump is like he is an old head. He's like the rich uncle that you never had, right? So why wouldn't you soak up game on how to do things with him? Diplomacy is something that could be implemented on every level of life. Not just politically. This guy is literally showing you get them hooked on what you produce and create. And in order for them to continue to operate, you make them have to use your stuff. You make them have to buy from you. You make them have to use your chips, right? As opposed to just making their own. You make them dependent on Boeing engines, right? So then when they need the engines fixed, they have to buy Boeing parts to repair the engines, right? Understand that. Trump is giving you all the game. But if you're too busy hating on Trump to soak up the game, that's on you. That's on you. He's giving Americans survival tips. He's teaching you how to survive in a world that is increasingly complex, competitive, and what's the last one? Complexity, competition, and what's the third C? Complexity, competition, and somebody give it to me. What's the third C, guys? The 3 C's, Les Brown. Increasingly complex, increasingly competitive, and increasingly, well, we should say 4 C's because corrupt as hell. Corrupt would be one of them. You guys know my audience is very intelligent. There's one more C that I'm forgetting. Complex, competitive, and changing. Right? Is it changing? Change, complexity, and competition, and corruption. So, so Trump is doing his thing. And China is doing what they need to do to survive. They're playing nice because they've gotten further playing nice than they will ever get being hostile. So that was our quick recap, guys. Let's go into what happened when Trump and Xi actually met.
It's true. He's been very quiet. I do think we've got to go back to a who's who in American business. And this was the same thing in Riyadh. The top executive CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, the great sleepwalking, and we'll be greeting. Maybe we'll just let people take this in for a second. This is the moment.
Could you listen? Let me tell you something. There's a reason why they didn't send Biden to China. There's a reason why they didn't send Biden to China. Seriously. Biden, if Xi would have saw Biden in real time, face to face, bro would have probably said, fuck it, launch the nukes. These niggas ain't got no leadership. He probably would have said that. Understand that. He probably would have said, launch the nukes. Because you know, these type of countries, once they see weakness, they pounce. But now they're like, yo, nah, Trump real. Bro coming through. Iran is a stone's throw from China. Trump flew into China while whooping the shit out of Iran and ain't worried about nothing. Let's pray to God he comes back safely. That's balls right there. That is balls right there. He is whooping ass. Forget you. I will come to your region while I'm whooping your ass. Just to show you ain't fucking with me. Trump he's balling on the jumbo. He is teabagging the shit out of Iran right now. He is teabagging the shit out of Iran. It's crazy. But let's see what happened during this visit.
Fox News alert, Beijing is drenched in pageantry for the Trump trip. He's the first president in 50 years to walk through the Temple of Heaven. Ford was the last one in. The Confucian Temple, built in the 1400s during the Ming Dynasty. Only the emperor was...
Hey, I'm going to be real. In a fight, I think Trump would beat the shit out of Xi. Look at his little tiny arms. Bro looked like they broke both his wrists in the war. He looked like Cotton Hill, but with the arms messed up, not the legs. Bro looking like how old buddy John McCain used to look.
Was allowed to step inside. It's where he prayed for good weather. Trump, a Protestant, went inside and made it rain. More on that later. First, the party started at China's Great Hall, right across the street from Tiananmen Square. Trump wasn't in a tank. He was in the Beast and pulled up to shake hands with Xi. And it was a long shake, 15 seconds. Some friendly patting. Both men stood still. No one leaned in. Who won? Some call it a draw, but Xi did release first. And then Trump hit him with a little pat in the back. Body language experts say that was a power move. The fashion police noticed that POTUS rocked a red tie, which experts say aligned visually with the dominant ceremonial palette of China. Xi wore a purple tie to evoke the symbolism of the purple forbidden city, the center of Chinese power. Didn't see a lot of hostility. Diplomats on the ground actually say there was a lot of chemistry. Xi, who tends to be more reserved in public, put on a show. The Chinese honor guard played the Star-Spangled Banner, but the president was most impressed by this.
I think I was particularly impressed by those children. They were happy. They were beautiful. The military is obvious. It couldn't be better, but those children were amazing.
People say the ceremony was more jovial, conversational, and personally interactive than Trump's last visit in 2017. A lot more smiles this time. But body language experts say Trump showed gravitas and stayed focused. Quote, I think that Trump feels the power, feels like this is a formidable meeting. He is not intimidated by Xi at all. He's showing, kind of like a peacock or a lion, he's showing his power. Trump brought that energy into his meeting. The two men spoke for 2 hours and 15 minutes, longer than expected.
How are your talks, sir?
It's great.
Did you talk about
Great place. Incredible. China's beautiful.
Xi said some beautiful words, too.
Both China and the United States stand to gain from cooperation and lose from confrontation. Our two countries should be partners rather than rivals.
There was a little bit of a skirmish, though, not between Xi and Trump, but between Secret Service and the Chinese police. They say it was a Chinese version of a Mexican standoff, a Chexican standoff.
There have been some heated and physical clashes between the Secret Service and the Chinese police on basically at the back doors of these events, including one very physical standoff where a Secret Service officer was being prevented from taking his weapon in as part of the protective detail. But things have all been ironed out, and as far as we know, the schedule has not been changed because of that.
I bet you that weapon got in. I bet you $1,002 that weapon went in. Come on, bro. They not playing games. Bro came over there in the Beast. That's all. You know the Beast got a machine gun. Like, people don't know this about the Beast, but the Beast has a minigun in the floor, like in the trunk of it, that pulls into the main cabin, and the top open up, and you could come out with the minigun and that presidential vehicle is it's like a tank. It's a caddy too, but yeah, it has a minigun on it. Like, it's basically is a tank. People don't even know that. But this is what I like. The world is gonna be good as long as we keep meeting like this. Not let's sit over here and do a bunch of bullshit and hope that they feel sorry for us or they think we like them because we giving them everything.
But they patched it up by dinner time. Xi even had his musicians play an instrumental version of the YMCA, although there was no dancing. Not that kind of party. And the food? Guests started off with lobster and tomato soup, followed by a pan-fried pork bun, or better known in Chinese as a shengjianbao. Entrees? A choice of crispy beef ribs, a suckling Beijing roast duck, or a slow-cooked salmon in mustard sauce. For dessert, a trumpet shell-shaped pastry. Get it? And tiramisu, which we're pretty sure is Italian. Here's the president's toast.
Tonight, it is my honor to extend an invitation to you and Madam Peng to visit us at the White House this September 24th, and we look forward to it. And I'd now like to raise a glass and propose a toast to the rich and enduring ties between the American and Chinese people. It's a very special relationship, and I want to thank you again. This has been an amazing period of time. Thank you, President Xi.
Out of respect, the president, who doesn't drink, imagine if he did, even took a sip of champagne. Trump, though, had his glass served by an American waiter. Both sides made sure the other side didn't get their fingerprints or DNA. All custom. The White House is taking all the necessary protocols. They're all using burner phones this week. But despite everything, Trump says our two nations have more things in common than not.
As allies in World War II, President Franklin Roosevelt's mentions of the brave people of China, that's what they were, drew loud cheers in his speeches in the United States, and everybody loved what he had to say. Just as many Chinese now love basketball and blue jeans. Chinese restaurants in America today outnumber the 5 largest fast food chains in the United States, all combined. That's a pretty big statement.
There's one thing that both men understand very well.
Wait, what did he say? Hold on.
Hold on. Largest Chinese now love basketball and blue jeans. Chinese restaurants in America today outnumber the 5 largest fast food chains in the United States, all combined. That's a pretty big statement.
Listen to that. That's a stat that you need to pay attention to. Chinese food restaurants in America outnumber all 5 of the largest fast food chains in America. Those are small businesses. So, you know, when people say, oh, corporations we need to tax the rich and all this stuff. But you know how they used to always say small businesses are the driving engine of the American economy? That's why. You didn't know that there were more Chinese food restaurants, small mom and pop operations than all 5 of the largest fast food chains in America combined? You didn't know that. But you learn because you have a president who could actually stay up past 3 p.m. A president who's actually paying attention to business and knows the business, what would I say? How would you call it? The business, would it say terrain of America? He understands the business environment. Something that many of us, we're working every day to survive. We don't have time to pay attention to that type of crap. But it's good that the president is a businessman. So he understands what's best for business. Because if business does well, guess what? The people do well. That was an interesting fact, man. Trump dropping some gems. You want to be successful? Open up a Chinese restaurant. You ain't got to be Chinese. It's a black-owned Thai food place right here in L.A.
There's one thing that both men understand very well. Money.
The people of China and the United States are both great peoples. Achieving the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation and making America great again can go hand in hand. We can help each other succeed.
Come on, bruh. Bro just said the Chinese rejuvenation and MAGA can go hand in hand. Come on, bruh. W Trump, bruh. W Trump. Don't say nothing else. Come on, you got the Chinese president talking about MAGA.
And advance the well-being of the whole world.
Xi told Trump China's open for business, even wider than before. We hope that's true because that's music to the president's ears.
So I'm in China. We had the greatest CEOs in the whole world. We had about 30 of them, and they were pitching President Xi on doing business in China. I think they were successful.
Musk was there, even brought his son
That definitely looks like it was recorded on the cell phone.
on X. Elon says X is learning Mandarin. Jesse Jr. is learning Spanish. And the Doge Master was kind of a celebrity. Everyone lining up to take pictures with the world's richest man, even Apple's Tim Cook. The feeling among the business community, upbeat. NVIDIA's CEO, AKA the chip guy, he was there and he was pumped.
President Trump and President Xi have a wonderful relationship, and we have great hopes that we will build upon the great relationship and improve the relationship with our.
Look at our Asian American. Look at our beautiful Asian American, dude. We got an Asian American in Asia getting cracking, ready to bring billions in prosperity to America. See, this is what America is all about, man. Not all that hating and trying to undermine everybody and hating on them, being reverse racist and all that. This is what America is about. It wasn't about your skin color or who you with. Hey, man, do you have something to offer? Come on, get on this damn plane. We all going. You need to try to do things. You need to implement things like this in your life and watch how your prosperity goes. We too busy, especially in my community, but this is the liberal mind virus. I watched a thing today about the no contact movement. While Trump is traveling the world with the rat pack of freaking billionaires, right? The people who help make America run. We got liberals encouraging people to go to therapists who gonna tell them, you need to just cut off all contact with your family. You need to cut off all contact with your friends. What? No, you need to be coming together with the people who are like-minded and pursuing a goal that you guys all have in common so your kids can prosper. You got one group of people in America trying to tear our country apart based on race and pronouns and all this type of nonsense. Then you got a group of people trying to bring Americans together and uplift the American people. And guess what? They're being called racist and xenophobic and bigoted. It's so stupid.
Two nations.
NVIDIA's coming home with a pretty big deal. The White House just gave them the green light to sell their AI chips to China. But remember, not the best ones. They'll still be happy. Bessent says he's going to make China play by the rules so that we don't all get slaughtered by robots.
The U.S. is the undisputed leader in the world here. We have the greatest AI companies. We're actually going to be discussing the AI guardrails with the Chinese. We're going to set up a protocol in terms of, how do we go forward with best practices for AI to make sure non-state actors don't get a hold of these models.
By getting in business with the Chinese, we're hoping it makes them less hungry for Taiwan. China doesn't have the chip tech to beat us in the AI race, and the island's producing about 90% of the world's best semiconductors. And the Chinese have been salivating over Taiwan for geographic reasons, historical reasons. But now that it's an AI island, if they can't hack them, they just want to grab them. But we told them, pause off.
China wants to invade Taiwan?
Well, I think China's preference is probably to have Taiwan voluntarily join them. In a perfect world, what they would want is some vote or a referendum in Taiwan that agrees to fold in. I think that's what they would prefer. Ultimately, it's featured prominently in President Xi's mandate. In the time he's been in office, he's made clear that what they call reunification, that's what they call it, is something that has to happen at some point. We think it would be a terrible mistake to force that through force or anything of that nature. There would be repercussions for that globally, not just from the United States.
The Chinese want to boom, but we can boom together. We already opened our country up, and they didn't. No more suckers. The Chinese are also buying more soybeans and energy. And by the way, Trump and Xi talked about Iran. We'll cover that in the next block. And while we're at it, how about some big, beautiful Boeings?
What does he want from the U.S.?
A lot of things. We talked about a lot of things. Too many things to discuss, but a lot of things. We had a very good meeting, but we want things from them. One thing he agreed to today is going to order 200 jets. That's a big thing, Boeing's.
Boeing.
200 big ones. That's a lot of jobs. It's a lot.
200 Boeing jets, but we got to be careful with the jets because what China does is they order the jets because they want the technology, the global guidance technology that American planes are equipped with. They want that for guided missiles. They don't have. They're behind America when it comes to their satellite guided missile technology, and commercial airplanes have that. That's how they're able to avoid like storms and stuff like that. That's how they're able to fly like on autopilot and like pinpoint destinations. China doesn't have that. So I understand, and I'm celebrating the fact that China wants to buy 200 Boeings, but I also do understand that the threat is that they will try to steal the IP on those satellite guided missile, satellite guided navigation technology, and use it for weapons. They will do that. So I mean, I'm pretty well studied on this stuff because I spent 5 years with idiots telling me how China was going to beat America in a war and this and that. Blah. So I really deep dove into it to see if that was even a possibility. But we're going to listen to a little bit more of this. Then we're going to go into this is the positive side, right? But we're going to go to the liberal media because, they have to flip and spin everything towards the negative. So I wanted to give you the positive. We're going to listen to some of the liberal media negativity, and then we're going to go into what Trump and Xi talked about concerning Iran.
Boeing wanted 150, he got 200. He said, I think it was a commitment. I mean, sort of like a statement, but I think it was a commitment.
The markets love it. The Dow topped 50,000 today, first time since before the war. And the S&P and NASDAQ surging to fresh record highs. This time, though, Trump has tariffs and domestic supply chains to protect American jobs and factories. Hopefully, this is the last time we get ripped off.
We're not trying to constrain China, but their rise cannot come at our expense. Their rise cannot come at our fall. So there's an area where we're just going to have a difference of opinion. But when that plan is in conflict with the national interest of the United States, we need to do what's right for the United States.
Xi told the president something very interesting. Quote, "The world has come to a new crossroads. Can China and the U.S. overcome the Thucydides trap?" Now, he's referring to the war between Athens and Sparta. Athens was the established power, and Sparta was the younger upstart. They ended up fighting a vicious war, with Sparta winning. The Chinese see themselves as an ancient power, and the United States as a young rising one, and want to avoid direct military conflict. That is probably until they think they're more powerful than us, but we'll see. Trump had a different interpretation. Quote, "When President Xi very elegantly referred to the United States as perhaps being a declining nation, he was referring to the tremendous damage we suffered during the 4 years of sleepy Joe Biden and the Biden administration. And on that score, he was 100% correct. But now the United States is the hottest nation anywhere in the world, and hopefully our relationship with China will be stronger and better than ever before."
Hey, it's good. I'm happy for it. Oh, Trump, we hate everything Trump do is bad because the TV told us so. Because a bunch of Democrats who can't even figure out how to get bums off the street know better. These people, have you guys seen the interviews of Ocasio-Cortez? Excuse me. Have you guys seen the interviews of Ocasio-Cortez when they're asking her geopolitical questions and she sounded like a complete idiot? Let me just make you understand. Help you understand. If this woman ran for president, there are libtards who would vote for her. They would put her into the highest office in the world. just because she's a Democrat. Whether she knows about international diplomacy, whether she understands geopolitics or not, they would say, oh, she's a Democrat, I gotta vote for her. These are the people who are hating on Trump. People who don't vote based on the policies or vote based on the facts or reality. They vote purely based on what is the letter behind the in front of the person's name. And this is stupidity. They were voting for, they wanted Kamala Harris to have these negotiations. They wanted, we must be unburdened by what has been, to go to China and negotiate a deal with Xi Jinping, which somebody told me is she. I don't give a damn, honestly. I'm American. I don't have to care about that. They wanted Kamala Harris, a woman who produces nothing but word salad, went to Korea and embarrassed us on the podium. They want her to go negotiate and project American strength in another country. That's how you know they don't got good sense. So let's look at the negative liberal spin.
And good evening from Liberty Square here in Taipei, here in the capital of Taiwan. People are watching the summit between the leaders of the U.S. and China perhaps more closely than anywhere else in the world. And that's because China considers this self-governing island to be a breakaway province, and it intends to reclaim it. That was the big headline from day one. Chinese state media saying that President Xi warned Mr. Trump that if the situation is mishandled, it could plunge the relationship between our two countries into an extremely dangerous place. In a moment, what Taiwan is doing to deter a potential Chinese invasion. But we're going to begin with senior White House correspondent Weijia Zhang in Beijing with day 2 of the summit expected to begin very soon there. Weijia, good evening.
Good evening, Tony. Presidents Trump and Xi continue to put on a public display of diplomacy through extravagant events. But in private, Xi told Trump that Taiwan is the most important issue in the U.S.-China relationship. And you're right, he also warned that mismanagement could lead to consequences.
Thank you, everybody.
President Trump was the guest of honor at a lavish state banquet to cap off his first full day in China's capital.
I want to thank President Xi, my friend, for this magnificent welcome.
Dining on Beijing roast duck and tiramisu. It was a day filled with pageantry as he and President Xi Jinping strolled the red carpet outside the Great Hall of the People amidst a military parade and hundreds of flag-waving schoolchildren. Then came the main event, a meeting between the two leaders that lasted over 2 hours.
It's an honor to be your friend, and the relationship between China and the USA is going to be better than ever before.
But Xi warned Trump that the relationship could be in jeopardy on the issue of Taiwan, saying handling it improperly could lead to clashes and even conflicts. China has long sought reunification of the self-governing island and has not ruled out taking it by force. The U.S. has sold billions of dollars in weapons to the Taiwanese.
We think it would be a terrible mistake to force that through force or anything of that nature. There would be repercussions for that globally, not just from the United States.
On the war in Iran, the White House said Xi agreed the Strait of Hormuz must remain open. China.
Real quick, remember when Biden said that he would help Taiwan if China were to invade? And then his PR team went in on him and rushed to the damn mainstream media. No, he didn't really mean that. They were so busy trying to kiss China's ass and let Beijing know, no, we're weak, we're scared of you. If you invade Taiwan, we're not going to do anything. Please don't hurt us. Trump said, look, I'm going to sell them $11 billion in weapons. Then I'm going to make an agreement for another $25 billion in weapons. Then I'm going to fly over to your house. Then we could talk about how conflict and clash and whatever. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. Then I'm going to let you do all the talking and woofing, selling the wolf tickets. But the deal is done. If you're giving them $36 billion in weapons, China know we got they back. So at that point, they could say any damn thing they want to. It's a moot point. We gave them the weapons. You know we got their back. Don't mess with them. Y'all can say whatever to save face, but actions speak louder than words. Isn't it good to have a leadership that is not cowardly, that stands up for what is right and for what we believe in and doesn't cower. Oh, no, he misspoke. How does the president of the United States have to bow down to a short-armed freak like Xi Jinping? Dude, it's disgusting.
Buys up to 90% of Iran's total oil exports. President Trump was asked about China's military support for Iran and the reported sale of components for missiles and drones used in the war.
He said he's not going to give military equipment. That's a big statement. He said that today. That's a big statement. He said that strongly.
President Trump was also hoping to go home.
Let me get this comment. I love this. This is coming from Sucker Season LA. 50 Cent told Oprah, if we can't be friends, can we at least agree to be enemies? I love that quote because that's basically what's going on between China and the United States. If we can't be friends, if saving face to y'all is so important, let's just agree to be enemies and just don't make no sudden moves and we won't have to cut you. Hey, shout out to Ed NY222 for helping us towards our $5 super chat goal with the $4.99 holler. Thank you so much, Ed NY. Guys, please remember, we do have a $5 challenge where we are looking for $5 contributions. Super chat, Cash App, PayPal, whatever. It's all available. Cash App and PayPal is pinned to the top of the chat. And you see that little super chat $ button down at the bottom right. Help us reach our goal. We are in it to win it tonight. Let's keep going.
Home with new deals. On American beef, China has agreed to approve export licenses for 400 U.S. processing plants. And in a new interview, Trump says she has agreed to purchase more soybeans, liquefied natural gas, and 200 Boeing jets.
That's
Tony.
business. That's called doing business.
Thank you very much.
That's called doing business. Come on, baby. 400 new licenses for beef processing plants. Xi has guaranteed that he's going to buy more soybeans. What about the farmers? The farmers have suffered a little bit. Trump did provide some subsidies for the farmers, but then Trump went and made a deal that would ensure prosperity for those farmers for years to come. That's how you do that. We're not doing it the Democrat way where you create a problem, it hurts Americans, and then you just have no solution like Obamacare, right? Our solution to fix Obamacare, which is broken, is to force the government to keep footing the bill for millions of Americans. Why can't they go make a deal to generate the money that can fund Obamacare? See, Democrats never do stuff like that. They just think, oh, the American people could pay for it. The American people could pay for it. Trump makes something happen, and he finds a way to make other countries pay for it. Democrats, everything, the bill always falls in the lap of the American people, no matter how bad the decisions are that they're making. I'm sick of that crap. Come to my state, California, and you will see exactly how that works. They make horrible decisions. You as a citizen gets to pay for them. Then they tell you, we're going to go after the billionaires. But every time they're allegedly going after the billionaires, the bill seems to still fall in the lap of the middle class. You guys have to be as tired of that as I am. You guys have to be as sick of that as I am. Unless you're just dumb or ignorant or just dishonest and you don't want to admit, right? The truth. The Democrats have zero ability to handle the financial operations of our country. They don't know. These people never own businesses. Their answer to everything is just to print money. That's it. Their answer to everything, let's just print more money. Hyperinflate everything like Joe Biden did with his Inflation Reduction Act. And guess what? We're left footing the bill. We're left footing the damn bill. So now, I want to see what they were talking about when it comes to president. Here's where I want to go to what they were saying about Iran, because that's a big one. which I feel like China already bent the knee on this issue. But here's what we got right here. You guys want to do Good Day New York? Discuss. Okay, we'll go right here.
President Trump inviting his Chinese.
The Queen City News. Let's give them a shot. See, I don't care where I get the information from, as long as I get the information.
President Trump inviting his Chinese counterpart to the White House as his trip to visit with President Xi Jinping now continues. And the visit would then come in September of this year. But he's also warning Trump that differences over Taiwan, a self-governed island that Beijing claims as its own territory, could bring the U.S. and China into conflict. As Libby Dean reports now, Trump's visit to China also comes as tensions remain high with Iran.
The first full day of President Trump's historic trip to China coming to a close after a lot of politics, a lot of pageantry. The politics taking place during that high-stakes sit-down meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping. That happened at the Great Hall of the People. And later on that evening, President Trump returned there for these remarks that he delivered right off the top, saying how productive this morning's over 2-hour-long meeting was with Xi. The White House also releasing a statement outlining a lot of agreement on Iran, which has overshadowed the president's trip to China.
We had extremely positive and productive conversations and meetings today with the Chinese delegation earlier. And this evening is another cherished opportunity to discuss among friends some of the things that we discussed today, all good for the United States and for China.
Two balancing acts playing out, one on Iran, the other on Taiwan. On Iran, the White House is claiming that Chinese President Xi agreed the Strait of Hormuz needs to be opened. China has lost out on a lot of its oil supply from Iran during the war, and the White House claims that Xi expressed interest in purchasing more American oil. Also, Xi condemned the idea of tolling the Strait of Hormuz, according to the White House. What they didn't mention in the statement is Taiwan, despite China mentioning it off the top. Late last year, Trump's team approved an $11 billion arms package for Taiwan. That hasn't fully been delivered on yet, and the question was if President Trump would recommit to Taiwan or change the U.S. position. China did attempt to shape the narrative, quickly stating this was the most important issue of the meeting, Taiwan, and it was very important to Chinese President Xi Jinping. With the first full day coming to a close, President Trump has two major things left on his schedule. That is a tea and a lunch with Chinese President Xi Jinping. At the White House for News Nation, Libby Dean.
Queens. It's so crazy how the liberal media always tries to paint America as being in a position of weakness. And it's like, what do you guys get from that? And when they do it in such a subtle way, it's like, you know, the people who watch their channels are too retarded. Their attention span is 13 seconds. So when you're doing that, who is that really aimed at? Because libtards, they get their news from TikTok. They only can ingest news 30 seconds at a time. So you think they were going to watch all 3 minutes or so of that video to get to the little dig at Trump? You can tell that the people who own these media outlets have like a personal animosity against the president because they take a dig at him every chance they get. And no one does this more than MSNBC. You've been with me for an hour here, right? And we're going to end soon. So help us reach our super chat goal. We got another one to read in a second here. But I want you to look at MS Now, right? MS Now. They used to be MSNBC. They change names every week because nobody wants to watch their garbage, right? MS Now, they're talking about Trump has weakened America's position globally. How could anyone weaken America's position more than having Joe Biden, a guy who no one even can tell is conscious, right, as president of the United States? There is no, Trump could stick his head between his legs and kiss his own ass, and that would not weaken America as much as putting a corpse on stage in front of the world, somebody falling asleep at important events, a dude whose eyes were literally filling up with blood on stage. Think about that. This is true. If you didn't know, Biden's eyes filled up with blood on stage multiple times during his presidency. That's not projecting weakness. He's as fit as a fiddle, but Trump walking under his own power all over China. I understand what Xi Jinping was doing. He was giving Trump a fitness test, walking up all them damn steps and shit. Trump is fit as a fiddle at 80, damn near 80 years old. He's strong, a true American, whether you like it or not. And if you don't like it, doesn't matter. Now let's watch the mainstream continue to tear down our president.
Joining us, director of the China Center at the Brookings Institution, the author of that piece, Ryan Haas, author and managing editor.
Look at these people. Trump's rolling around with Elon, Marco Rubio, even Scott Bessent with his fruity ass. They look strong, healthy, vibrant, right? They look happy. Look at these people who they have to pull from up under a fallen tree log like slugs to disparage the president. Do you really think any of these people, would you want to sit down and have a drink with any of these people? Like, where do you even find people like this?
Editor of Political Playbook, Jack Blanchard, and Washington Post columnist, and senior fellow for national security studies at the Council on Foreign Relations, Max Boot. Ryan, I do want to begin with you because we ended with your piece in The Atlantic, and I found it so...
Let me say this one thing now, in my opinion, is going to discredit everything these dudes say. The president of China got on stage and said that the Chinese resurgence wants to work hand in hand with MAGA for prosperity. Let me say that one more time. The Chinese president got on stage in front of his people and said the Chinese resurgence wants to work hand in hand with MAGA for continued prosperity. You got Xi saying, MAGA, I want to work with MAGA. He didn't say I want to work with America. He said I want to work with MAGA. And that somehow weakened our position in the global stage. What are you talking about, bro? MAGA is stronger than ever.
So striking, as I said, because when we think of our politics and the world stage and foreign policy, we think in 4-year terms. Just make it through these next 3 years. Things might change during the next round. China does not think that way. So what do you make of how each of these countries came out of the summit today?
Here we go.
I think that you're absolutely right in the way that you frame this, Katie. The Chinese view the Trump administration as a continuation of trend. From their perspective, it is a reflection of the fact that the United States continues to be a declining but still very dangerous country that is trying to cling to its privileged position by lashing out overseas. And so from that vantage, the goal is to just sort of, from China's standpoint, be steady in its course, trusting that trends are working in its favor. And if you look at the first thing that is reflected in the Chinese readout of the meeting, President Xi told Donald Trump that the transformations unseen in a century are accelerating. What that means is he is saying that he thinks that China is ascendant and that America is receding from the center of the world stage. And so I think that this was a pretty muscular, pretty confident expression by Xi Jinping to start out a meeting with President Trump. But at the end of the day, I don't think that either leader was really making an effort to try to embarrass the other or treat the other as a supplicant. Xi Jinping showed great respect to President Trump, taking him to the Temple of Heaven, treating him with deference and the state banquet. And President Trump similarly lavished praise upon President Xi throughout the day. So
do we have folks, Max, in our government right now, within Donald Trump's foreign policy team, were they there, that understand that about China's motivations and China's desires and are helping this administration navigate that?
Well, I don't think that regional expertise, or in fact, expertise of any kind, is something that the Trump administration is noted for. I mean, it's really an administration that has purged many of the experts from the State Department, many of the experts from the NSC, and has instituted very personal rule by President Trump, his family, and his friends. So it's really unclear to me what the president or those around him actually understand about China. But I hope that they at least understand what a weak position they are in right now in dealing with China, largely because of President Trump's self-inflicted errors, whether it was his precipitous haste to start a trade war with China last year, and then Trump had to back down after President Xi threatened to withhold rare earths minerals that the U.S. economy needs to function.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Xi threatened to withhold rare earth minerals. Yeah, and now Trump has now made deals with all these other countries for rare earth minerals. And we're starting our own rare earth mineral processing operations. Trump learns from what he does. Oh, he has something that he can hold over our head. So we need to put ourselves in a position to where we don't have to depend on that anymore. And that's exactly what Trump did. This guy has to bring up something that Trump has already fixed to try to take shots at Trump. He's in a weaker position. Nobody's in a weaker position than the country who can't get oil because we have a blockade on the country that they get oil from. These guys live in opposite world. Please tell us what and this is why when I argue with libtards, I always say, okay, what's your solution? Because they can never tell you that. Biden on his freaking knees, tugging at Xi's damn pants leg. Please, we need those minerals. This is the libtard idea of negotiations, begging. Do you remember when Biden was kissing the ass of the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia? You remember that? Please produce more oil. Please produce. And the Crown Prince looked at that fool and said, they started making jokes and comedy sketches about this fool. That's strength to libtards. That's strength. Begging a dustbin to produce more oil when you could just produce more oil yourself in your own country. You going to beg some Crown Prince and him laughing in your damn face, not taking your phone calls, then allowing his state media to make satirical videos and skits about you. That's being strong to these people.
Or the even greater blunder that President Trump has made this year by launching this war with Iran. And just yesterday, you had the Washington Post reporting that the Joint Chiefs of Staff have concluded in an intelligence estimate that the war is greatly hurting the U.S. vis-a-vis China in all sorts of ways, not the least of which is we're using up all the munitions against Iran that we need to fight China. And we're also plunging the world into this energy crisis. And
so we're using up the munitions that we need to fight China, but we have no plans of going to war with China. This is what I'm telling you. These people just make up things in their head. The United States would be stupid to go to war with China, but they're using up all the munitions fighting Iran that they would use to go to war with China. Well, do you want us to go to war with China or not? And if you don't want us to go to war with China, why are you worried about munitions being used up? Wouldn't using up the munitions be a step in the direction of not going to war with China? They just say whatever. Let me give my brother Buddy Yeti. Thank you so much for helping us reach helping us a bit closer to reaching our $5 super chat goal. Buddy Yeti, I'm here late, but I'm also balls deep in this China shit for nearly 2 decades now. Keep preaching the truth, Brandon. Let Hong Kong be an example. Hey, my brother, you know what time it is. Listen, the only difference between me and a liberal is that I don't hate America. That's it. All you have to do to understand what Trump is doing and why it's such a win is to take off the American hatred goggles. Why do you hate the place you're from? Why do you hate the president who's been elected to go represent you? He's doing a good job. If a man does a good job, he deserves the credit. That's all I'm saying. I don't like Biden, but I commend Biden for the CHIPS Act. I think Biden did a really good thing when he signed the CHIPS Act into law. That was a major step in preventing China from gaining control over another crucial component of the global economy, which is the manufacturing of chips. So kudos to Biden. I'm going to give him credit. I'm not going to try to spin it to a negative. He signed the CHIPS Act, but look, he can't barely walk up the stairs. Like, no, that's stupid. That's ignorant. That's immature and that's childish. But that's where a lot of these liberals are coming from. They have no maturity.
Looking like a very militaristic, out of control country, allowing China of all people, the Chinese, to posture as being kind of the stable adults in the global system. So, I don't know if what the Trump administration understands about their dealings with China, but I think the objective reality is they've greatly weakened America's position in the global rivalry with China.
Jack, you've done some reporting on this. Politico has regarding who
They've weakened our position by agreeing to buy 200 Boeing jets from America. Come on, bro. Come on, bro. Agreeing to buy more soybeans, agreeing to give 400 import permits to new American beef manufacturers. Come on, bro. Come on, bro. This is so stupid. How is this weakening your position when you're literally getting them to make concessions and agree to buy your stuff?
who's left in Donald Trump's cabinet and his
I guess because we didn't get them to agree to paint the crosswalks with rainbows. we didn't get them to agree to put a statue of George Floyd in Tiananmen Square or whatever that shit's called. To these people, this is what the wins are. Ridiculous theatrics and big grandiose freaking displays of stupidity. You didn't get them to paint the lawn of the Chinese State House with a Black Lives Matter flag. That's a fail. You didn't get them to hang the Ukraine LGBTQ flag from Xi Jinping's window. That's a failure. That's how they think. That's how they think. A bunch of symbolic nonsense is a win to these people. A bunch of symbolic nonsense is a win to libtards. Like, let's be real.
inner circle that remains a China hawk. Who is left?
Not many voices is the truth. You know, Donald Trump came onto the political scene, of course, 10 years ago, talking a very tough game on China. And we've seen flashes of that in policy terms over the years, particularly in terms of tariffs. But the truth is, he comes to this summit looking relatively dovish towards China in the sort of Republican framework, if I can put it that way. And, you know, the sort of lavish praise that we were hearing him heap upon President Xi overnight, calling him a great leader. You know, this guy is a dictator of a country with an appalling human rights record, but there's no mention of that. Donald Trump's very keen to...
So now Xi is a dictator of a country with human rights violations, but Iran is good and they're literally murdering hundreds of protesters, sentencing them to death. See, these people, I'm telling you, these people have a totally situational way of looking at the world. Xi Jinping is a dictator who has tons of human rights violations. Cool, right? But Iran has just as many human rights violations as China, if not more, but they're rooting for Iran. They're like, Trump should have let him keep on doing it. Like, these people are arbitrary. If they like you today, they're going to defend you. If you do something they don't like or you try to move closer to peace, oh, he's a dictator. He's making peace with a dictator. Well, if he's a dictator, let us go take his ass out if he's doing human rights violations. But no, they're saying he's evil. But if you dare do something against him, now we're going to call you out and say you're a warmonger and all this. You can't please these people. You cannot please these people. That's why you have to just ignore them and keep moving forward. That's the true theme. That's the new course of action. Ignore the libtards, let them live in their freaking fantasy land of stupidity, and just keep going on about your life. That's what China does. You think China listens to these people? China like, hell no, we need 200 jets. You think they watch MSNBC in China? They don't. I'm gonna let's so I like to go straight to the horse's mouth, so to speak, right? I like to go to the people, you know, who are from that country, and see what they think. That's gonna tell me more than any loser libtard can ever tell me. Because their job is to stoke division and try to scare people. That's what they're about. They are agents who operate purely on the level of fear-based programming. We got to scare people to get us to get them to support us because they know they have no policies, they have no ideas, and they have no course of action. So I'd rather just go straight to the horse's mouth. Let's see what Chinese people say about it.
访问期间，两国元首将就事关中美关系以及世界和平与发展的重大问题深入交换意见。中方愿同美方一道，秉持平等、尊重、互惠的精神，扩大合作，管控分歧，为变乱交织的世界注入更多的稳定性和确定性。
So it says residents are hopeful the two leaders will strike a deal to loosen some restrictions. She says, this lady says, my job involves import and export, so tariffs hit us really hard. Oh, I thought the tariffs were having no effect. Ain't that what they tell her? These tariffs ain't affecting China at all. These tariffs are only affecting Trump and America. Well, that's not what the Chinese are saying. Anything related to the U.S.-China relations or U.S.-China policies? We pay very close attention to all of that. Some, however, aren't excited about his visit, expressing skepticism. I think his visit to China is definitely about reaching some kind of consensus. And honestly, the U.S. economy has been going downhill. It's been declining. So I think he's coming here because he wants things to move in a better direction. This guy says he's not trustworthy. He's like, what, 80 years old? He's quite old. He sure loves to stir things up. He's always getting into conflicts with other countries and stuff. Honestly, I have a really bad impression of him. Wait a minute, bro. He's really old. He's like, what? He's 80. Let's see how old Xi Jinping is. Because you got libtarbs in China. Come on, bro. Xi Jinping is 72 years old. Trump is 79. Or like, I think Trump might even be 78. Like, it's so funny. Let me tell you how stupid you have to be in China criticizing Trump. Yeah, Trump is 79. Okay, do you realize how stupid you have to be to criticize Donald Trump in China? The guy Xi Jinping has been in office for 13 years. And they talk about Trump being kind of old. At least he gonna be out of office in 2 years. Y'all got 20 more years of Xi. That's what I don't understand. How does a country where they can't even choose leadership, they just say, hey, this is the guy and he the guy for the next 100 years. You can't even choose leadership, but you trying to throw shots at Trump. I mean, he's entitled to his opinion. Over a dozen U.S. CEOs will join Trump in China, including Elon Musk, Apple's Tim Cook, and NVIDIA's Jensen Huang. So that was that's pretty eye-opening. The lady seemed like the one who had the most sense. Hey, we and then you also got to be careful because, over there, they can't say whatever they want to say. That's one of the things, too. When you can't just say, it's not America. You can't just talk shit about leadership over there. And that's what makes this country great. But, hey, let's just take it that these are these people's true sentiments. And, they're not just talking in a way that ensures that they won't get disappeared or kidnapped, man. I want to go to this other one if I can find the damn thing. Because we about to get out of here, y'all, folks. But I want to see. Hold on, let me see. Y'all can see everything that I see. You guys can see Is this it? Okay, right here. Bam.
We are going to begin with something we've been covering with China, where President Trump and President Xi Jinping are wrapping up a very busy day of diplomacy. The two leaders met overnight. The White House says they agreed on several issues, including Iran and the Strait of Hormuz. But one issue U.S. officials did not mention was Taiwan, an item at the top of the list for China's leader. CBS Evening News anchor Tony DeCopo is in Taiwan. Tony, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Nate. So according to Chinese state media, they had a readout. President Xi warned President Trump that not only is Taiwan the most important issue between the U.S. and China, but that if it's mishandled, the two nations could collide or even come into conflict. That's how we put it. Now, what, if anything, did President Trump say in response? We don't yet know because, as you mentioned, the official White House summary did not mention Taiwan. Here's what we do know, though. Trump's visit began with a grand welcome in Beijing, a 21-gun salute from Chinese soldiers, and the Chinese military band played the Star-Spangled Banner. The leaders then took part in a closed-door meeting in the Great Hall of the People, and the message afterwards was all about a shared willingness to work together.
It's an honor to be with you. It's an honor to be your friend, and the relationship between China and the USA is going to be better than ever before.
The White House called it a good meeting overall and said the two leaders talked about ways to increase Chinese investment in the U.S. And on that point, the leaders of some of the biggest recognizable companies in America also joined for part of the meeting. Among the leaders, Tim Cook and Elon Musk. Another area of agreement, at least according to...
I don't even care what like the average person says. I follow the money. That's the money right there. The money's in China. They over there talking, seeing what's up. They're not doing negotiations, but they clearly believe in Trump because these are the guys who are going to make the investment. These are the guys who are going to spend the 10 billion in new jobs and this and that. So whatever they go with, I'm gonna think that's the way to go because they're the ones taking the biggest risk. You asking a dude who don't even work. He live in his mom's basement. Of course his shit ain't gonna, of course what he say ain't gonna make no damn sense. Mom, we're out of Pop-Tarts.
Gathered in a nearby park, hoping to catch a glimpse. I've been waiting here for 4 hours, says this man. It's good, though, the two leaders are talking. It makes a real difference when they discuss their problems in person. The last time Trump was in China was a year before the first trade war kicked off.
What does this visit mean for China-US relations?
State broadcast anchor Lu Xian had a front row seat to the fallout. And while tensions and mistrust have built up over the past 9 years, she believes the summit is reason for hope.
When they shake hands, when they touch the skin, feel the temperature, when they look into the other person in the eye, I think it's going to make a difference.
Economic and demographic problems plague China. But despite this, there is an air of confidence.
Professor Wu Xinbo, who attended the state banquet, says his country is justified to feel this way.
Do you think that China has the upper hand?
Well, at the moment, certainly China is in a stronger position. President Xi has more cards than Trump has at the moment, to borrow Donald Trump's words.
No matter who has the stronger hand, for these citizens, dialogue is key. I'll be paying attention because the whole country's economy is tied to this in some ways, says this woman. So I'll be following it.
Now, Tony, this evening's state banquet, which has just wrapped up, was an extraordinary display of power in one room. Not just President...
Man, will you really listen to these people talk? Look, they giving away the facts. Our whole economy is tied into this meeting. Americans are kind of like, it is what it is. If it works, it works. If it don't, it don't. Because America's whole economy is not tied into China. It's just not. We've a long time ago started to separate from China as far as them manufacturing our goods. As a matter of fact, I think the things that China manufactures for America is like less than like 20% of what we import now. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that because we started the decoupling a while back. I'll look it up. How? Let me see. What percentage of American imports come from China? Nine 9% of all American goods come from China. Now look at this. I don't even know if I could share this with you. Hold on, let me see if I can share this with you. Share. Okay, let me see. Stop sharing. Share screen. Share this window. Right here. Yeah. Sure. So I just asked AI. I'm seeing if you guys can see this. I'm looking at my big screen where I have this playing. Okay, so if you can see that, look, as of May 2026, China accounts for approximately 9% of all U.S. goods imports. This reflects a significant downward trend over the last decade. For comparison, China's share of U.S. imports peaked at about 21% in 2017, before declining due to trade tensions, tariffs, and shifting supply chains. Current trade snapshot: the trade relationship has been substantially volatile following major tariff escalation in early 2025. Here's the breakdown of the most recent annual data. So think, us bringing in 9% of our crap from China means $438 billion, right, for their economy. Just like if you think about the math, us barely 9% of our imports represents $500 billion for their economy. A consistent $500 billion. Do you really think that they're going to lose that? And if we talk about what their imports from us mean, it's nowhere near that. I mean, let me see. I'll do it in reverse. Let me see. Wait, how did I ask that question? U.S. imports from China. Hold on. What percentage of Chinese imports? I'm gonna ask the question in reverse. Damn. What percentage of Chinese imports come from America? Four to 5%. So we're kind of close when it comes to trades, but 4 to 5% of their total imports come from us. So who do you think is gonna get hurt more if we sever ties? Just F it, we ain't dealing with y'all no more. They're gonna be hurt way more, because let's see how much it represents. 1.6 Chinese imports from the U.S. That only represents $100 billion to our economy, right? So I think we could survive. We're spending damn near $100 billion on a war right now, a minor conflict, right? I think that we'd be able to easily take this. When you look at China's imports from all countries, totaling like $2.57 trillion, they could a $400 billion hit hurts them way more than $100 billion hit hurts us. It's just not that significant in the scope of trade. We can get pretty much whatever we get from China from a bunch of other places. So I don't understand how people are like, China has a stronger hand. No, they don't. This is like literally life or death for them, because I honestly believe that U.S. imports from China, I believe it represents more than 9%. But you get the numbers from China, so they fudge the numbers to make themselves look stronger or in a position of advantage. I think China is in the weaker position because they depend on us more to buy their crap. And if we don't buy it, I mean, what if Apple just jumped up and left? How many jobs does that represent? And that's how you really got to look at it. You have to look at it in the term of jobs. How many people are going to be out of work if U.S. companies stop operating inside of China? Or if the U.S. stops importing that crap that they're making? That's a lot of people. Versus how many Americans will be out of a job if the United States stops exporting things to China? They could just export it somewhere else, right? So, yeah, we exporting Boeing jets, shit that matters. They're exporting paper clips, shit that you can get from anywhere or make here. And the Americans are in America is like, look, we stop getting it from you. 10 American companies pop up producing the same thing. The price might go up a little bit, but we can afford it. That's not the way it works in China. If Apple leaves, China ain't gonna be like, yeah, we're just gonna start making better cell phones than Apple. That they don't have IP, bro. They still IP. Go black to Africa. What up, brother? My brother he's with us tonight. This is a big one. This is amazing. This is an honored man. Good seeing you. Good knowing you're good. Yeah. So guys, I'm listening to myself, but I'm gonna end it right here. Thank you guys so much for stopping in and checking on us here over at Defiant Brandon. I appreciate all of you. Please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. I love the diverse audience. I love being able to talk about current events and things that are happening in the world. And if you want an honest take, yes, I am a conservative, but at the end of the day, I'm going to be honest. And you're always welcome to come up and, have a conversation with me. I like talking to people about what they think and really just hearing different perspectives. Shout out to my brother. Good to see you're still out. Of course, man. I'm trying to get on your level, man. But I'm definitely going to go check out some of your videos right now. Thank y'all. Thank y'all all. Till the next time, take care of yourselves. But most importantly, please take care of each other. Peace.